Hey guys, welcome to Raw Customs. I'm your host, Patrick Apollo, and on this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to put together a proton grenade with some LEDs. So to start, I do have a kit. If you're interested in doing this build yourself, you can find a link to the kit in the description area below. Now this is the first time that I've added electronics to a kit, and it is just a simple LED wiring setup. I've also made a wiring schematic to help you guys out. You can find a link in the description area below to that. In the kit, I have included a mini slide switch, a battery holder, 2 LEDs, and some wire. Now the wire may change colors, so whatever your darker color is, make that your negative, and of course your lighter color, make that your positive. Now one of the things you're going to pick up is a battery. This is a 2032 button cell battery. That's what fits the battery holder that comes with the kit. And another option for you guys is to make your grenade magnetic, and you can do that just by adding a magnet. I recommend these square or rectangled magnets here. They're pretty cheap and they work very well. And to do the wiring, I'm really going to recommend picking up a soldering iron. You can pick these up for $10 or less, and of course don't forget the solder, which is pretty cheap too. Now if you don't have one already, I recommend picking up one of these handy hands because they come in pretty handy. Alright guys, let's get to the build and see how to put this thing together. For this build, you'll need the kit, contact cement, PLASTI dip, spray paint, 2032 lithium button cell battery, soldering iron, a rotary tool, heat gun, and a glue gun. To start, grab the bottom ring, the large circle which will make the bottom, and one support circle that has a hole in it. Use a heat gun to heat up your bottom ring, then wrap it into a circle and hold it till the foam cools. To glue your pieces together, I recommend using contact cement. Apply glue to the outside edge on the support circle and along the bottom surface area, along the top edge of the bottom ring, and to each end of the piece. Glue these two pieces together by lining up the top corners of each piece as you wrap the bottom ring around the support circle. Once the ring is wrapped completely around, you can press your ends together. Then work your way around the top edge, pressing your two pieces firmly together. Next, apply glue to the inside surface area of the ring along the bottom edge and to the outside edge of the bottom circle. If you'd like your prop to be magnetic, then I recommend using a magnet block. On top of allowing you to stick your prop to metal, the magnet also adds some weight to your prop. If you're going this route, hot glue your block onto the bottom circle. Now line the bottom circle up with the ring. Line up the circle evenly and lay it into place. You're going to press the bottom edges together in small sections. Press a small section together, then make a quarter turn, press that section together, make another quarter turn, press that one together, and continue this process until the entire edge is glued together. This keeps the bottom section even all the way around. Next, grab the 3 circles for your top, 2 support circles, and your rectangle piece. On your top base piece, apply glue to the top surface area and to the bottom surface area of the top overlay. Once your glue set, line your overlay piece up with the reference lines on your base piece and press your pieces together. Next, apply glue for the top ring, then press it into place. The rectangle has 2 reference lines, one in the center and one along the top edge. Heat your rectangle piece and roll it into a cylinder and allow it to cool. Apply glue along the bottom of the top reference line and the center reference line and to the bottom along the edge.
Apply glue to both ends as well. Apply glue to the outside edge of your top piece and to the outside edges of your two support circles. Line up your top piece on one end of your rectangle. Line up the top edge of your circle with your reference line. Then line up one of your support circles with the center reference line. Line up the bottom support circle even with the bottom edge. Now you can wrap your rectangle around your circles, working each circle a little at a time. Once your piece is wrapped all the way around, you can glue your ends together. On the bottom section, you can use a rotary tool to flatten the outside edges and make the top flush. At this point, it's a good time to clean up your seams. To help make the seams disappear, I like to use gel super glue. Apply a thin layer along the seam and use a razor to spread it and feather out the edges. Once your glue is dry, it can be sanded smooth. Next, apply glue to the bottom of the top section and to the top of the bottom section. Once the glue is dry, you can press the bottom surface area down in the center. This will help you glue the two pieces together more easily. Line your two pieces together up at the seam and press your edges together. Work your way around the cylinder as you glue your pieces together, while you keep your edges even. You may need to be a little persuasive and push in on the foam in some areas to get your edges to line up. You have two pieces for the side louver sections. On the base piece, you have reference lines top and bottom. Line up your square on your base piece and mark reference lines on each side. Next, use a rotary tool to round over the top edges on your square piece. Apply glue to the marked area on your base piece and to the back surface area of your overlay. Allow your glue to dry and then press your pieces together. Next, you'll want to use a heat gun to heat this piece, then mold it over a cylinder that's close to the same size as your prop. Next, line up your louvered piece on the side of the top section. This doesn't have to be exact, just wherever you think it looks the best. Once you've decided where you want your piece to sit, I recommend taking measurements and transfer them to the other side for your second piece. Once your pieces are set, trace a reference line around the outside edge, then apply glue to your two pieces, allow to dry, and then glue them in place. Next, you have 6 circles that make up the center dial. You have 2 circles that are the same size that are blank. Next, the large circle with a reference circle marked on it. Next, a small blank circle, followed by the circle with teeth. That's followed with a circle with a small reference circle on it. Use a rotary tool to round over the edges on your top circle. A helpful tip is to wrap a popsicle stick with tape with the sticky side out to hold your small parts while you add glue and paint. With all your pieces glued together, this section actually makes a plug and is meant to be removable. Next, you'll want to grab these 2 pieces that make up this little reactor looking thing and glue them together. Next, you can lay out all your small parts on a tape stick to prep for paint. To seal the foam for paint, I recommend using PLASTI dip. I generally use 2 light coats followed by 2 heavy coats. On the small parts, I only use 2 light coats. Once the PLASTI dip is dry, I use 2 coats of silver on the small parts. On the main body of the prop, I used filler primer along the seam. Once the primer was dry, it was wet sanded smooth. After sanding the filler primer, a base coat primer was added to the prop. That was followed by a base coat of green paint. Once the paint was dry, the prop was taped off, and then an airbrush used to paint in detail. I used a silver paint pen to paint the louvers on each side. Once your base piece is painted, you can use super glue to glue down all your extra small accent pieces. In the kit, you'll have 2 wires, a battery holder. You'll need to pick up a battery for this, that's not in the kit. A mini slide switch is in the kit, and 2 LEDs. On the LEDs, the long stem is your positive side. For this part of the build, you're going to need a soldering iron, some solder, as well as some wire strippers. On the black wire, cut 2 4-inch strips. On the red wire, you'll want to cut 4 4-inch strips. Use your wire strippers to strip off the ends on the wires. To hold your wires and parts, I recommend picking up one of these helping hands. They're around $5 at Harbor Freights. To get started, I recommend adding a little solder at the end of the wire. This is called tinning. Start with the red wire and solder it to the positive side on your LED. Next, solder the black wire to the negative side on the LED. You'll want to do this for both of your LEDs. Your switch has 3 terminals. Take 2 red wires. Solder one wire to the center terminal and the second wire to an outside terminal. Next, you'll want to cover your bare wires. I recommend using heat shrink for this, but if you don't have any, you can use electrical tape and it will work just fine. Now take your switch. Run your wires down the square hole and use something to fish the wires out the center hole. Run your LED wires down the round holes and you'll want to fish them out the center hole as well. With all your wires fished out, tie your 2 black wires from your LEDs together, your 2 red wires from your LEDs together. At this point, you have your 2 positives from your LEDs, your 2 negatives from your LEDs, and the 2 wires from your switch. Take one of the wires from the switch and tie it to the red positive side of the LEDs. At this point, you can turn the prop on its side and add solder to all the wires. The battery holder has a plus on one side for the positive, which are the 2 outside terminals, and a single negative terminal on the bottom. You'll want to heat shrink or tape up the 3 red wires that are tied together. Solder your black wires to the bottom negative terminal on the battery holder and a single red wire from the switch to a positive terminal. Next, plug in the battery, test the switch and the LEDs. Once you know everything's working, tape up any naked wires. Then you can tuck the wires and the battery down into the center hole. And finish everything off by putting in your plug.